Well, American Car Center told employees that business was closing its doors for good on Friday.
Mike Rodriguez sits in his empty BMW dealership at midnight, frantically calling customers with offers that sound like scams. "I know you looked at an X5 back in January," he tells a confused customer on the other end of the line. "I'll give you one for $19,500 cash tonight. I just need it gone." The customer hangs up thinking it's a fraud call. But Mike isn't lying. He's desperate. The BMW X5 sitting on his lot has been there for 247 days, costing him $47 daily in floor plan interest. That's $11,699 he's paid just to keep one car that nobody wants. This isn't just happening at Mike's dealership. It's the beginning of a complete collapse of automotive retail as we know it. What's happening right now will change how you think about buying cars forever. But here's what most people don't realize. These midnight desperation calls aren't just about slow sales or temporary market corrections. They reveal a fundamental shift in consumer behavior that dealerships never saw coming. While dealers blame the economy, interest rates, and supply chains, the real crisis runs much deeper. Customers aren't just delaying purchases, they're actively rejecting modern vehicles altogether. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some brand new luxury cars are being offered at 78% discounts, why customers are refusing to take them even for free, and how this collapse is forcing dealers into increasingly desperate and ethically questionable survival tactics. The most shocking revelation? This isn't a temporary downturn, it's the beginning of the end for automotive retail as we've known it for the past 100 years. What's really happening behind the scenes at car dealerships across America? Why are they suddenly unable to sell vehicles at any price? And what does this mean for the future of automotive retail? The answers reveal a perfect storm that's been brewing for years. It's not just about high prices or interest rates. It's about a complete disconnection between what manufacturers are building, what dealers are selling, and what customers actually want and trust. While industry experts debate economic factors, the real story is playing out in deserted showrooms where salespeople sit for days without a single customer walking through the door. The midnight desperation calls. Mike's BMW dealership used to sell 180 cars monthly. Last month, he sold 12. His overhead costs $127,000 monthly, whether he sells one car or 100. His floor plan financing alone costs $89,000 monthly for the 340 vehicles sitting on his lot. "I'm hemorrhaging $8,000 daily just keeping the lights on," Mike explains, his voice cracking with exhaustion. "Every morning I wake up $8,000 poorer than when I went to sleep. The mathematics are brutal and simple." Mike owes his floor plan lender $14.7 million for his inventory. The interest rate jumped from 3.2% to 11.8% in just 6 months. His monthly payment went from $39,000 to $144,000. But here's the killer. He can't sell the cars at any price. That $89,000 BMW X5 Mike's trying to give away for $19,500, he's already dropped the price 4 times. Started at $89,000 in January, dropped to $79,000 in March, then $59,000 in May, now $19,500, and still no buyers. "I had a customer tell me he wouldn't take it for free because he can't afford the insurance," Mike says, staring at the X5 like it's cursed. When people won't take luxury cars for free, something is fundamentally broken. But Mike's midnight phone calls revealed something even more shocking about what customers are actually thinking. Sarah Chin was on Mike's call list. She looked at a BMW 3 Series 6 months ago. Qualified for financing, had excellent credit. Perfect customer. When Mike called offering the car for 78% off, she laughed. "I can't afford a $600 monthly payment for something I don't trust," Sarah told him. "My 2016 Honda Civic runs perfectly. Why would I trade reliability for debt?" That phrase, "something I don't trust," keeps coming up in every conversation Mike has with potential buyers. It's not just about affordability anymore. American consumers have lost faith in modern vehicles entirely. Every unsold car on Mike's lot costs him $47 daily in floor plan interest. That's $16,955 annually per vehicle just to keep it in inventory. Multiply that by 340 unsold cars, and Mike is paying $5.7 million yearly just for the privilege of owning inventory nobody wants. Walking through Mike's lot at 6 in the morning before customers arrive reveals the biggest automotive disaster in American history. Row after row of 2023 and 2024 vehicles that should be premium products but have become toxic assets. That Alpina B7 cost me $142,000, Mike says, pointing to a gleaming sedan that's been sitting for 289 days. I'd sell it for $60,000 tomorrow if anyone wanted it, but nobody even looks at it anymore. The Alpina B7 represents everything wrong with the current market. It's a $142,000 luxury sedan with 600 horsepower and every conceivable feature, but it gets 14 miles per gallon, requires premium fuel, and costs $3,200 annually just for basic maintenance. In an economy where families are choosing between groceries and gas, it's become an automotive dinosaur. Mike is trapped in a vicious cycle where his most expensive inventory generates the highest carrying costs while having the lowest probability of sale. But the bleeding gets worse when you understand what's happening to the vehicles themselves. Cars sitting on lots for 200+ days start developing problems from non-use. Batteries die from sitting idle. Tires develop flat spots, paint fades from sun exposure, rubber seals dry out and crack. These aren't just unsold cars anymore, they're deteriorating assets that lose value every day they sit. I have a 2023 X7 that won't start because the battery died, Mike explains, showing a $98,000 SUV that's become a paperweight. The replacement battery costs $400, but I can't justify spending money on a car I can't sell. The irony is devastating. Mike is paying $47 daily to store a car that's becoming less valuable every day due to neglect he can't afford to prevent. Stealth liquidation and desperate tactics. 3 months ago, Mike started what he calls stealth liquidation. He's selling BMWs through online auctions, Craigslist, and even Facebook Marketplace without identifying himself as a dealer. The goal is to move inventory at any price without damaging his brand reputation. I sold a $75,000 X3 on Craigslist for $28,000 last week, Mike admits, looking embarrassed. The buyer thought he was getting a deal from a private party. I lost $31,000 on the sale, but I stopped the bleeding on carrying costs. Mike's stealth liquidation strategy reveals how desperate dealers have become. They're willing to destroy their profit margins and deceive customers just to generate cash flow and reduce inventory carrying costs. The cars you see advertised at massive discounts aren't deals. They're desperate attempts by dealers to stop financial hemorrhaging before it kills their businesses entirely. But Mike's desperation tactics pale in comparison to what other dealers are doing to survive. Last week at Tom Patterson's Cadillac dealership in Dallas, he's literally paying customers to take cars. His dealership used to sell 220 cars monthly. Last month, he sold 31. His monthly overhead is $156,000, whether he sells one car or 300. We're selling cars below our cost just to pay our floor plan financing, Tom explains with the exhausted look of someone who's been fighting a losing battle for 8 months. Every sale loses money, but we can't afford to stop selling. Tom's survival strategy goes beyond simple discounting. He's created what he calls negative equity absorption, essentially paying off customers' existing car loans to get them into new vehicles. I had a customer with a $45,000 loan balance on a truck worth $28,000, Tom explains. I paid off his entire loan and gave him a new Escalade for $200 monthly. I lost $73,000 on the deal, but I moved inventory and generated cash flow. The mathematics are insane, but they make sense in Tom's desperate situation. That Escalade was costing him $67 daily in floor plan interest. By taking a $73,000 loss, he stopped the daily bleeding and freed up credit line space for new inventory he might actually be able to sell. Tom is essentially paying customers to take cars off his hands, treating massive losses as a cost of staying in business rather than profit opportunities. But his negative equity absorption strategy revealed something even more shocking about customer behavior. The customer who got the free Escalade called Tom 3 weeks later wanting to return it, not because of mechanical problems or buyer's remorse, but because he couldn't afford the insurance and maintenance costs on a luxury SUV. He said the insurance quote was $340 monthly and he'd have to use premium gas, Tom recalls. He wanted to go back to his old truck even though he'd have to restart the loan payments. This perfectly illustrates why dealers can't give cars away. The total cost of ownership on modern vehicles has become so high that even free cars are unaffordable for most American families. The Chrysler Death Watch. But the most shocking survival tactic came from Linda Martinez, who runs a Chrysler dealership in Phoenix. Linda has been selling Chrysler products for 34 years. Her family dealership survived the 1980s recession, the 2008 financial crisis, and the COVID pandemic, but she's never seen anything like what's happening now. Chrysler is a dead brand walking, Linda says, standing in a showroom that feels like a museum. We have 3 models, and 2 of them barely sell. The numbers tell the story of a brand in terminal decline. Linda's dealership used to sell 150 Chrysler vehicles monthly. Last month, she sold 4 cars. Her Chrysler franchise, which once generated $2.8 million annually, brought in $47,000 last month. But here's what makes Linda's situation uniquely desperate. She can't even give Chrysler products away. I offered a customer a brand new 300 sedan for $18,000. Linda explains, showing the window sticker that reads, $38,450. He looked at it, laughed, and said he wouldn't take it for free because nobody makes parts for Chrysler anymore. The customer wasn't wrong. Chrysler's parts supply chain is struggling as the brand contracts. Independent mechanics are increasingly reluctant to work on newer Chrysler products because parts can be expensive, sometimes hard to find, and the vehicles have developed a reputation for reliability issues. Linda is stuck with inventory that's not just difficult to sell, it's actively toxic to her business reputation. But Linda's survival strategy reveals just how desperate the situation has become. She's begun what industry insiders call phantom branding, marketing her Chrysler vehicles with almost no mention of the manufacturer, instead emphasizing features, drivetrain, and luxury appointments while burying the Chrysler name in the fine print. Online listings feature generic terms like luxury V8 sedan rather than Chrysler 300 in the headlines, with minimal brand identification until shoppers are deep into the listing details. I listed a 300S last week by advertising it as a premium rear-wheel drive luxury sedan with Hemi V8, Linda admits. The photos were carefully angled to minimize brand visibility. The customer was surprised when he arrived and realized it was a Chrysler, but by then he was intrigued enough by the actual vehicle to test drive it anyway. This marketing sleight of hand is technically legal but ethically questionable. Linda's dealership isn't removing badges or misrepresenting the vehicles, but they're deliberately downplaying brand identity to get customers in the door, a tactic that would have been unthinkable during Chrysler's heyday. Linda's customers now regularly express shock when they discover the actual manufacturer after responding to these deliberately vague listings. Sometimes they walk away immediately, but occasionally, when the discount is steep enough, they'll consider vehicles they would have automatically rejected based on brand alone. I have 47 employees depending on me, Linda says, her voice breaking. If I close, they lose their jobs. If I'm completely transparent about what brands I'm selling, I can't get customers to even look at the inventory. What am I supposed to do? Last month, Linda received a call from Stellantis Corporate offering to buy back her entire Chrysler inventory at 40 cents on the dollar. The manufacturer would rather take massive losses than continue supporting dealers who can't sell their products. They offered me $1.2 million for inventory that cost me $3.1 million, Linda explains. It's a terrible deal, but it would stop the bleeding and let me focus on brands people actually want. Linda is seriously considering the buyback offer, even though it would cost her nearly $2 million, because continuing to carry Chrysler inventory is costing her more than that in opportunity costs and carrying charges. Even manufacturers are abandoning their own products, offering to buy back inventory from dealers rather than continue supporting brands that have become virtually unsellable in today's market. The customer rebellion. But the real story isn't what dealers are doing to survive, it's what customers are doing instead of buying new cars. And it's completely reshaping American transportation. Jennifer Walsh, a nurse from Phoenix, perfectly represents the customer rebellion that's destroying the new car market. She's driving a 2014 Honda Accord with 187,000 miles that she bought used 4 years ago for $12,000. The car needs new brakes, the air conditioning compressor is failing, and the paint is faded from Arizona sun. By every traditional measure, she should be shopping for a replacement. Instead, she's planning to keep driving it indefinitely. I can fix anything on my old Honda for under $1,500, Jennifer explains. Why would I trade that for an $800 monthly payment on something I don't trust? Jennifer's rebellion isn't about money. She makes $78,000 annually and could qualify for financing. It's about rejecting the entire premise that Americans need new cars every few years. My neighbor bought a 2024 Accord, Jennifer says. It's been in the shop 3 times for software updates and electronic problems. The infotainment system crashed and left her without navigation or climate control. Meanwhile, my 2014 just keeps running. Jennifer represents millions of Americans who are choosing reliability over features, simplicity over technology, and ownership over debt. But her rebellion goes deeper than just keeping her old car. She's part of a growing movement of Americans who are actively reducing their transportation needs rather than upgrading their vehicles. I realized I was spending $600 monthly on car payments, insurance, and gas to drive 8,000 miles annually, Jennifer says. That's $7,200 yearly for transportation I barely use. It's insane. Jennifer's transportation cost analysis reveals why the new car market is collapsing. When customers calculate the true cost of vehicle ownership, payments, insurance, maintenance, fuel, depreciation, many realize they're spending 25 to 30% of their income on transportation they could live without. Alternative transportation solutions are exploding in popularity as customers like Jennifer reject traditional car ownership. Car-sharing services report 340% growth in membership. Motorcycle and scooter sales are increasing as people seek affordable alternatives. E-bike sales have tripled as customers choose $2,000 electric bikes over $50,000 electric cars. I bought an e-bike for $1,800, Jennifer explains. It gets me to work faster than driving in traffic, costs nothing to operate, and I don't need insurance or registration. Why would I want a car payment? The customer rebellion isn't just about avoiding new cars. It's about rejecting car-dependent lifestyles entirely. What dealerships and manufacturers have failed to understand is that this isn't a temporary market correction or an economic blip. It's a fundamental reimagining of personal transportation in America. The reliability concerns driving this rebellion aren't just perception, they're based on real experiences with increasingly complex vehicles that owners can't repair themselves and that often require expensive dealer service for even minor issues. Modern vehicles have become computers on wheels, with up to 100 separate electronic control units and millions of lines of code. This complexity has created vehicles that deliver amazing features but fail in ways that older, simpler cars never did. When a 20-year-old Honda has an electrical problem, it might affect the radio. When a new BMW has an electrical problem, the entire vehicle can become inoperable. The data confirms what customers already know. Modern vehicles are becoming less reliable in ways that matter. According to comprehensive reliability studies, infotainment system failures have increased 320% since 2020. Electronic parking brake malfunctions are up 240%. Advanced driver assistance system failures have increased 560%. These aren't just inconveniences, they're expensive, frustrating problems that often require dealer service, can't be fixed by independent mechanics, and leave owners feeling helpless and dependent on manufacturers. When your car won't start because a software update failed overnight, the promised benefits of advanced technology become meaningless. Dealerships have built their business model around selling increasingly expensive vehicles with features customers don't need, financing those purchases over longer terms, and then capturing service revenue when those complex systems inevitably require maintenance. This model worked when customers had few alternatives and limited information. But in 2025, customers have unprecedented access to reliability data, repair costs, and ownership experiences. They can see exactly how vehicles perform over time, which components fail most frequently, and how much those repairs cost. This transparency has shattered the illusion that new always means better. The most damning revelation: consumer satisfaction data shows that owners of 10-year-old vehicles report higher overall satisfaction with their cars than owners of new vehicles. Despite lacking the latest technology, these older vehicles provide more consistent, trouble-free transportation, which is what most customers actually want from their cars. This explains why Mike Rodriguez can't sell an X5 for $19,500, why Tom Patterson's customers are returning free Escalades, and why Linda Martinez has resorted to hiding the Chrysler badges on her inventory. The product they're selling has become fundamentally misaligned with what customers actually want and need. The implications of this customer rebellion extend far beyond current dealer struggles. The automotive retail apocalypse is entering its final phase, but the destruction isn't over. Industry analysts predict that another 35% of dealerships will close or be acquired by the end of 2026, leaving entire regions without automotive retail infrastructure. The survivors will be fundamentally different from the dealerships that came before: smaller, more efficient, and focused primarily on used cars and service rather than new car sales. The massive showrooms and huge inventories that characterize traditional dealerships will disappear, replaced by smaller facilities that stock 20 to 30 carefully selected vehicles instead of 300 to 400. The dealership of the future will look more like a used car lot with a service department, predicts retail expert Maria Santos. New car sales will be mostly online, with dealers handling delivery and service only. But this transformation comes at a massive cost to consumers. The competition that kept prices reasonable and service quality high will diminish as fewer players control larger market shares. Rural communities will lose automotive retail entirely, forcing residents to drive hundreds of miles for vehicle purchases and warranty service. The manufacturers that adapt fastest to this new reality will gain significant competitive advantages. Those that cling to traditional dealer networks will find themselves without adequate retail coverage as their partners disappear. The manufacturers that invest in direct sales capabilities and mobile service networks will dominate the future market, predicts industry analyst Robert Chin. Those that depend on independent dealers will find themselves without customers. For the average American, this transition period means both opportunity and risk. The opportunity: unprecedented discounts on new vehicles as desperate dealers liquidate inventory. The risk: purchasing complex vehicles that may become orphaned as manufacturers and dealers disappear, leaving owners without support for warranty claims, parts, or specialized service. Remember Mike Rodriguez making those midnight phone calls offering BMWs at 78% discounts? His desperate attempts to stop the financial bleeding reveal the truth about today's automotive market. The dealers begging customers to take cars at any price aren't just facing a temporary downturn, they're witnessing the end of an era. The automotive retail system that defined American commerce for over a century is collapsing, and what replaces it will look nothing like what came before. The midnight phone calls, stealth liquidations, and brand laundering tactics aren't just desperation moves, they're the death throes of a business model that no longer works in a world where customers prioritize reliability, simplicity, and financial freedom over the latest features and status symbols. For smart consumers, the message is clear. The power has shifted dramatically in your favor, but only if you understand what's really happening. Those brand new luxury cars being offered at massive discounts might seem like incredible deals, but they come with hidden costs that explain why customers are increasingly saying no thanks, even when the price approaches zero. The dealers are begging, but smart buyers are looking elsewhere entirely.